You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. The It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, good evening. It is Tuesday, just a few minutes past the hour of 10 Eastern, and this is the Jen and Rick Show. We are live right now on KLRNradio.com. We do this thing every Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Now, for this next week, this next Tuesday and Thursday, this will be the last time we do the double shots. So we'll do the 10 o'clock and the 11 o'clock thing. Next week, starting next Tuesday, because actually I realized when I put out the tweet, we had talked about doing Monday through Thursday, but I'd forgotten about the once-a-month Conversations in Science show on Monday, and I didn't really feel like making Doc move her show. And Mondays are a sucky day for me at the day job anyway, so we've decided to move America Off the Rails to 7 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday through Friday. So yeah, you'll get more of me now, actually, because I'm only really going to be taking one day off other than the weekends. And you'll still get shows on the weekends, too, if you go over to CRN. But anyway, so I have a quick question, and we'll move on to the topics of the day. Actually, I guess it's two quick questions. So first of all, when did LinkedIn become Tinder for the gainfully employed?
I don't know, but I swear I get a notification like several times a day. And then people, and so many of them are dudes that I don't know and have no connection to.
And then my other question is, it's kind of an awkward question. What do you do when somebody that's blocked you on pretty much every other social platform decides they want to add you to their network on LinkedIn?
I don't know. Decline.
Pretty much.
Actually, I'm also kind of like, maybe accept and be interested to see what will happen. If they even know, or if they even realize what they did.
I have a sneaking suspicion this person has probably paid someone to run their LinkedIn account who doesn't realize they don't like anyone but themselves. But, what do I know?
Yeah, I think that's probably right with some people.
Some of you know who we're talking about. Those of you who do not, sorry. Because I'm not mentioning any names, but there's been a rash of us that have seen this occur recently, so I'm sure between one of the 5 or 6 of us, you've probably heard this story. But anyway, so enough of that. We've had a lot of stuff going on. So, I have a question. Did you notice over the weekend these 15 million poor dead people that the Democrats kept swearing had to have been everywhere because the Senate passed a tax bill? Because I didn't notice.
Oh, you didn't? I was just pushing them aside with my foot and stepping over them. And some of them I jumped over. I made a little game out of it, a little hopscotch.
Well, see,
no big deal. It's just 15 million people. This is so, obviously this is so funny how everything is seriously the end of the world. Nancy Pelosi today called it Armageddon. Like, good grief, people. Tone down the drama. It is just raging off the charts. And like I said last week, it's rivaling that of the day that Hillary lost.
You have a point. They just really never have left that that level of angst. But the funny thing was, because I noticed it because we go in early for church and help set up, and then we help tear down. So I noticed it when we finally got everything put together, when we were starting to do the run-throughs. I pulled up my accounts real quick so I could go ahead and tweet out some stuff out about the church, because I usually do. And I noticed that everybody was like, oh my God, there's like 15 million poor dead people in the streets, and this is all the Republicans' fault. So I think I annoyed my pastor, but it was on my own account, so I don't care, because I put out a tweet that says, hey, I just recently heard that there are apparently 15 million dead people lining the streets. If you can't get to your church, you can come to ours on Facebook Live. Click this link.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so it's just the level of angst for the Democrats right now has been absolute. It's maddening to me. That's like, and I was talking about this last night on Off the Rails, but one of the things that really, really set me off this week was the incorrect story from ABC that caused the stock market to tank on Friday. And I literally saw Democratic friends, people that I work with, people that I know, people that I respect, were like running around going, how you feeling about Trump now? How you feeling about that stock market now? I'm like, you guys are rejoicing in the fact that the stock market just took a 300-point nosedive. How much of your own 401k just went in the tank? And you're having fun with this.
Yeah, I really, really don't understand like the rejoicing over that. And obviously that whole situation was just insane. I mean, with Brian Ross and all I don't know if you read one of these stories about it. This is about the 9th or 10th really pretty major thing over the last couple decades that he's done like this. And this is the first time he's ever had any consequences. There's ever been any real consequences to it.
This isn't the first time that he's done things like this. Actually, he's kind of run the gambit of crazy things, because he's been reporting some of the national security stuff that he does has actually come back to be kind of proven inaccurate. This was pretty blatant, though, because he put out a story the first time that talked about candidate Trump sending Flynn to go speak to the Russians. First of all, and this is the part that I don't guess the Democrats remember. Does anybody remember when candidate Obama was starting to go out and speak to other countries' officials before he was ever elected president? Because I do.
Well, right. There's so much of this that can be completely legal. So just because it's a conversation with someone from Russia doesn't inherently make it illegal. What those conversations were and what happened in them, sure, that could then bring more of that to light. But just being in contact or in touch with someone, it's only because of our, heightened sense of fear about all of this or the hysteria over the collusion that you even consider that just even the most basic of contact must mean something corrupt.
But here's the thing. So they put out the article the first time that mentioned that it happened when it was candidate Trump. Then, like 9 hours later, they put out a tweet that's like, oh, this is a correction to a previous story. It was actually President-elect Trump who sent Flynn to go communicate with the Russians. At that point, because Flynn's position is not one of the ones that has to be approved by Congress. So once Trump decided that he was going to be the guy, that pretty much makes him the guy. At that point, as the president-elect who did and had been duly certified, at that point, Flynn can go talk to whoever the hell he wants, and nobody can really say anything about it. So the whole thing about this that I don't get is why in the hell Flynn lied to the FBI? Because that's the only thing they had on him, was the fact that he talked to them and he lied to them. So, I mean, and so far it's a big fat nothing burger, other than the fact that he lied to them. God, I hate that word. Now I catch myself using it all the time. It's the first time I ever heard anybody say that. I was like, that's the dumbest thing ever. But that's something that's now become part of my lexicon. That should have been gone way before now, because 2016 was almost 2 years ago. Can we move on?
I know. It really is just out of control. And I mean, lying is bad. We all know this. But so much of the other stuff that they want to try to make it be a part of is just, there's just nothing there to warrant that. But, they're gonna continue to freak and try to tie Trump to some sort of evil doing in regards to Russia. And so I just have a feeling it's not going to stop.
Oh, no, it's not going to stop. That's part of the problem. I mean, now we're seeing all these things that are coming out about the Mueller team. I know you said you really hadn't had a chance to keep up with much of what's been going on, but now there's all kinds of stories that are coming out about the folks that from even inside the FBI. There have been folks that have been completely anti-Trump. Like there was...
Oh, yeah, the ones that were happy about that they cheered on Sally Yates or whatever when she was defying the orders and the travel ban or whatever.
Yeah, and the other guy...
I've seen snippets, and I just haven't... When I say that I haven't had a chance to pay attention, it usually means that... Because I like to go and actually read like 4 or 5 articles about each topic, and I haven't had the chance to do that. I have seen some snippets, but I just haven't been able to go in depth.
Yeah, only nerds read like 5 articles. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, I know. Totally guilty here.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, well, actually, there's been more than just that. So that's the most recent one. Is, it's come out that there was somebody who was actually, I think actually was the successor to Comey, who actually was caught in an email chain applauding Yates for basically, you have my respect, yada, 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 for basically, refusing to do your job. So I'm glad, I'm sad you got fired, but I believe in what you did. So there's that. But then there's the other guy, the one whose wife was basically, he was also from in the FBI. His wife was apparently getting money from the Clintons. He's another one that had basically kind of been embroiled in this whole thing. I mean, it's just maddening to see all of these little bits and pieces that are starting to come out. And it just, everybody laughed when people started talking about how political the FBI had gotten. But everywhere you turn now, there's some sort of a story about somebody who's technically supposed to be acting as an impartial investigator, who's basically letting their bias come out all over this stuff. And as somebody that used to do investigations, I'm going to tell you up front, that's a hard thing to do. It's really hard to go into an investigation and actually remain neutral. I mean...
Oh, absolutely. However, there's a difference between that and kind of, obviously, like where human biases are going to creep in, you can try to stay as neutral as possible. But this seems to be a little bit more audacious than just, I didn't quite stay unbiased. This is like, I'm proud to not be unbiased,
Yeah, but well, I mean, here's the thing. That's the thing. Everybody that's not biased in this one way or the other, they are proud because they're either biased towards Trump, which makes them part of the MAGA Trump train, and they're like, oh my God, he's the best president ever, practically the messiah of the country. Then you have the other folks that are like, oh my God, he's the Antichrist, I would never do anything for him, with him, have anything to do with him, and as far as I'm concerned, he should be destroyed. Then you have the rest of us sitting in the middle going, can we just, maybe fix the things that are broken with the country so we can actually still have a country? Is that too much to ask? But what do I know?
I know. It's just so frustrating, and it really is frustrating to hear about people in the FBI that are being so blatantly pro or anti, even if they were being pro him, but being so anti the president. It's just very unsettling and concerning.
I know. I mean, well, honestly, to me, it's becoming more than just disconcerting. It's actually kind of becoming terrifying. And let me explain, because everybody's like, why would that terrify you? Because, I mean, think about it from this perspective. Now that this has happened, is it ever going to stop? When things like this start happening, when political bias is allowed to creep into every aspect of our lives, every aspect of our work, every aspect of everything that we see, is it ever going to stop? Look, I am a political commentator, so I eat, sleep, breathe political bias. I get that. I understand that. But these are professions that those things are not supposed to happen. So there's an actual media reporter. Those guys are supposed to shoot pretty straight as much as possible. Again, just like you and I talked about. I probably shouldn't have said shooting straight, but anyway. So they're supposed to stay down the middle as much as possible and, call it down the center and basically, give the facts and let other people make their decisions. But, and then there's investigators. I mean, especially investigators from the FBI, for God's sake. It's one thing for a former beat cop, private investigator to, go in and be dealing with a crime scene or somebody beating the crap out of somebody and having a bias about it. But when you're talking about an actual investigation revolving around the President of the United States, you should do everything that you can to keep that as completely on the center, on the level as possible, so that we don't have this Charlie Foxtrot that we're looking at right now. For those of you who don't speak military speak, don't ask, because I can't say it on the radio.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. It's just crazy. And I don't know how, that part of the problem here is that when you have such increasingly biased people working on an investigation of this caliber, then how can you trust any result that comes out? Not just, whether it's the one you want or the one you don't want. How do you, think that they've reached that conclusion in a rational manner? I mean, it seems like, no matter what happens, that there's going to be a humongous portion of the country that's going to be incredibly distrusting of it. And especially when you've got such admitted bias there.
No, exactly. And we've actually got some folks hanging out in the chat, so I want to mention Al and Ron, who are hanging out with us. We also have Jess hanging out with us in the chat tonight. And Al just mentioned that as far as he's concerned, the FBI should be about 1/4 of the size that it is right now. And I popped off and said, as far as I'm concerned, it should be about 1/16 the size that it is right now. But that goes along with most of the government, to be honest. That's part of the problem that we have going on right now. We have all of this government overreach, overwatch, all of this crazy amount of spending, all these things that are going on, and the only thing that we're allowing them to do is politicize things that never should have been politicized. The FBI is the last thing that politics should enter into. That is the top criminal investigation agency in the country. The last thing that we should be doing is putting political sycophants of any stripe in that agency. I mean, I don't care if they're pro-Trump. They shouldn't be in there. I mean, it's one thing to support your country. It's another thing to respect the office, but it's another thing to be to the point where basically he can do no wrong. We're looking at the other side of the extreme here.
Well, and I think there's a couple different, I think when it comes to, if you're not an FBI agent that's on an investigation of some sort involving the president, but yet your job is at some particular point in time to be loyal to the president, to serve the president, any of that, yet you definitely, that's where that really has to come into play. Like, will you protect him less, be less loyal, not protect this country, which includes protecting the president in various ways, whether it's because you have information to pass on, whether it's because you're actually standing there protecting, no matter what it is, you're sweeping a building. It doesn't matter if you can't do that without being completely biased and knowing that may not help you do your job as best you could, then that's a real big problem. Your oath should be to this country and to this government, the citizens of this country that allow you to work for this government, and not to just one man, but like you said, to the office. And if the man in the office is going to dissuade you from doing your job to the best of your ability and to the best of your description that the citizens of this country expect you to do as a employee of the federal government, then you should step aside.
Couldn't have said it any better myself, because that's exactly what should happen. And we actually, I say that the FBI is probably the last agency that should be politicized, but I guess there is one that's even more important to keep politics out of, and that would be the Secret Service. And we actually saw this a lot during the transition. I actually know of at least one Secret Service agent that was completely removed from her posting because she had posted anti-Trump stuff right after the inauguration.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about and that's one of the things that I guess I really don't understand, because we're talking about people that have worked their entire lives to get to the point of being part of the Secret Service. In that instance, you're talking about the best of the best as far as law enforcement is concerned. And to let your political bias completely destroy your career instead of allowing you to do your job, that just doesn't make any sense to me. That's like I was talking I was listening to Chad Alexander and Jason Doyle the other day, and he was talking about the fact that he's on the way Alexander's on the way to the White House Christmas party, or one of like the 25 White House Christmas parties, because they have so many of them that, you know, they can't have everybody there all at once. And I was talking to Doyle after they were off the air, and I said, you know what? I didn't really think about it until I heard him talk about it, but I probably would have said the same thing, because he said on the air, you know, if I had gotten an invite to the Obama Christmas party, I would have went. It's like, you know, that's a pretty good point, because I probably would have went too. I've already said before that, you know, Obama seemed like a guy that I could probably sit down and have a beer with. I might not like his policies, but he seemed like he was at least somewhat of a jovial type person, and most of the time had a smile on his face. So I think we could have held a conversation for at least 10 or 15 minutes before I wanted to punch him in the throat. Probably.
Well, I think that I think that when you're talking, and particularly about anything that has to do with decorum, I mean, absolutely I would accept no matter who the president was. I respect the office that much. I would love that opportunity. And by the way, no matter who the president is too, like how many people really get to meet a president? I mean, it wouldn't matter who was there. I would, if I was invited to a ceremony, to the White House, to a party, anything like that, no matter who's president, I'm accepting. I'm not letting politics and pettiness get in the way. That to me would be a personal historical moment. And then you have to remember that every step that they're taking, whether these people want it to be or not, every step that they're taking is a historical one. This country is not that old, and there haven't been that many presidents, and it's all pretty profound. But I'm a huge history nerd, so I just love all that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not alone. I'm a huge history nerd myself, and that's why I actually shot Chad a tweet when I found that he was going to the White House Christmas party. I was like, you suck. He's like, hey, it had nothing to do with me, man. My wife was part of the campaign. I was like, yeah, you still suck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so anyway, but you know, going back to what we've been talking about, the bias is everywhere. I mean, you can't get away from it anymore. I mean, that's like all the news stories that have been coming out. We were just talking about the one that ABC did completely just wrong. That they basically did the old thing where, you know, they eventually put out a retraction when it was in the paper, like on page 13 at the bottom of the fold. So I mean, they kind of did the same thing through Twitter. They put it out hours later. Didn't, I guess, really think anybody was going to notice, and now they've got egg all over their face. But the thing about all of that is I remember when Trump started using the phrase fake news, and I cringed every time he said it. The problem is, though, please, for everybody that's listened to these shows for a long time, I promise I have not drunk the Kool-Aid, but I am about to say something that you might find a little shocking. In a few instances, I think Trump has actually kind of been ahead of the curve, because he's been around these people for most of his adult life. I think he's one of those people that, you know, is rambunctious and boisterous and goes into a room and basically takes control of it because he's one of the biggest names in the room and that's how he likes things. But I also think he's paying attention a lot more than people realize. And I think that in some ways he's known about some of these things that have gone on, as far as these stories that everybody, because look at how they do things now. I mean, they are in such a rush to be right or wrong that first they don't care about being right anymore. Everybody does it now. And half the time they wind up with egg on their face before it's over. That's like this whole Russia thing. The interesting thing about the Russia thing is if you really stop and think about it, the whole genesis of this Russia collusion thing was a joke Trump made on live TV. When the whole Hillary email thing broke and everybody was like, well, we can't find all of them, blah, blah, blah. And he off the cuff, being a smartass, says, well, maybe the Russians can help us find their emails. That was the genesis of this whole thing that's been going on for now almost a year and a half.
Yeah. Well,
a joke.
I think it's that and stuff that Putin said, which made them think that, oh, he's in and down with Trump and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that is definitely one of those things that it's like whenever something else happens and everyone goes back and finds the tweet from that time where they said something that it's like, oh, see, this is what they really thought. And they said it in joke form in their tweet, you know, whatever. That's kind of what it feels like. And it's funny. I
don't know. To me, I'm honestly, I I just want the Russians to go away. I want the Russian bots to go home. I want Twitter to be normal again. You know, how many times during 2016 did we say, please God, let this election come and be over so everything can go back to normal? Is normal ever going to come back?
I know. Well, and now almost every time, like, there's someone that just completely fails at sarcasm, or, you know, and immediately jumps to like, oh, you stupid, you know, libtard and this and that, and they start calling me all these names and, you know, cuck and all that kind of stuff. I immediately now I'm like, let me check your follower. This might be a Russian. This might be a Russian. And they sometimes like have some misspellings, and they like don't use proper punctuation. And I'm like, I don't even know if you're worth arguing. You're probably not even American. You're probably one of those Russian trolls. I just think it every time now. I'm like, ugh. That's what that seems.
I had one slip up with me once that was actually it's deleted, so I didn't think to grab the screen capture because they're gone now. But so it was one of those, it was late night, I'm having a discussion, all of a sudden this account I've never seen before starts popping in, starts going off, just like you said, all kinds of typos, bad punctuation, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So I popped off in one of the Russian phrases that I learned in high school, and he answered back, and then he disappeared. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's also like the ones that put the $sign like after the amount, and they'll do little things like that, and that's where it's like, don't think you're an American. That's not even remotely typical.
I've noticed a lot of them too. They'll be talking about how they're from Texas, or they're from Kansas, or they're from somewhere, you know, like Midwestern flyover country, and they'll spell color COLOUR. Like, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not how we spell that in flyover
not
country.
American. Sorry. You don't even accidentally do that as an American.
All right. Anyway, we've got to take a break. This is Jen and Rick. We'll be back with you right here in just about 3 minutes. Stay tuned.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, $1,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is Jen and Rick. We are live right here on KLRMradio.com. Again, we do this thing every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. This one's not moving, but the one coming up right after it is. So starting next week, we'll be doing Tuesday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I put out a poll. You guys voted. You said that earlier would be better for you. So if you listen to the show, one of the things I'm going to expect to start seeing is a lot more people listening live and a lot more people in the chat room. That's one of the reasons why we were hoping to move it to an earlier time slot. Because I know most of you, when I talk to you about, well, why don't you come in? You're doing the show at 11 o'clock, man. I got to be up at 3 in the morning. Well, if I do it earlier, will you listen live? Sure. So we'll see. We'll test it. We'll find out. Either way, we still get great numbers from the podcast because I know lots of you listen that way. So it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. I just, one of the things that will help now that we're geared towards trying to see if we can push this thing out to a few other places, because now I have the guy from KOKC asking for more audio. Still won't exactly tell me what he's up to, but apparently he's trying to work something. So the better the numbers look, the better all of that's going to go. But anyway, enough of me talking about the shop talk stuff, because we still got show left to do here. So far we've talked about the whole dead people in the streets from the tax reform thing. The funny thing about that, though, and I meant to bring this up earlier, I hear all these Democrats that are, oh my God, the Republicans wouldn't work with us, and they passed this all by themselves, and you guys, like 5 seconds ago, were Trump's the devil, I'd never work with Trump, and now you're mad because the Republicans found a way to get it done on their own. And at the same time, you're talking about all these people that are going to die, and you didn't even bother to read the bill.
Not only that, but they refused to accept some improvements on the bill or amendments that are supposedly more towards the direction that they wanted it to go, but they declined to work with those senators trying to implement that because it wasn't good enough. So they're going to let the worse version pass because the middle ground version wasn't good enough to what they want. I mean, that makes no sense. So who's the one really being heartless now? If you truly believe that it's heartless to go with what the original bill is, and you don't want to implement some of the things that would give more of a break to some middle-class families who you claim to be fighting for, then are you really fighting for them if what you're saying is, I'll just let the worst bill pass and not worry about it because they wouldn't pass it the way I wanted them to, when there was at least one thing to make it a little bit better, and they refused to act on? I mean, I'm sorry, but that proves to me right there that you're completely disingenuous.
Well, it's all about partisan politics anymore. They want this bill to pass because in their mind, if it passes, it's going to make the American people suffer, and they're seeing their Obamacare moment is what they're seeing, because they're envisioning the president and the Congress being as disingenuous about this tax bill as they were when it was their turn with the Obamacare bill. Because let's not forget, they painted the perfect picture for that thing. Oh, if you like your doctor, you're going to get to keep your doctor. We're going to make your health care more affordable. You're going to save $2,500 a year per family. And dude, even I wanted to believe that crap. I'm like, $2,500 a year, that's like a $2.50 an hour pay raise. I'm down. Can we make this happen? And then, right. It's like, oh, well, what was going to be a savings is now an increase. And not a minor increase, mind you. A major increase to the point where I now only have one form of coverage where I used to have two. Where the form of coverage that I have now is about a third of what I used to have and twice as expensive. That's what Obamacare has done, because they made it all about the piece of paper instead of actual health care. And that's one of the things that I keep trying to make people understand, because they're like, oh my God, they took the mandate away. Nobody's going to be able to have health care anymore. I'm like, a piece of paper that tells me I have health insurance that I can't afford to use is not health care. It's a government-funded Ponzi scheme.
Well, right, and that's the main issue is right. They always conflate insurance with care. They are not the same thing. But also, what they also are like just, and a lot of them know this. Now your average person that's just regurgitating what these little talking points are, maybe not. But the actual legislatures know this next part, which is that it doesn't necessarily mean that, X amount of million people are now going to be deprived of insurance. What it means is they're not going to be forced to buy it. And if people like, I don't know, my healthy, 20-something, 30-something-year-old brother who is single, has no kids, doesn't want to purchase insurance because if he even goes to the doctor, it's maybe once a year, and so he can pay the $100 fee up front. Why would he pay $600, $700, $800, $900 a month for health care he's not using? It makes no sense. And before this, he'd be forced to pay a fine if he didn't get health care. Well, for people like him and tons of people everywhere, including college students and what else, now they don't have to feel the burden of that, which was part of a lot of us on the conservative side of things. As part of our argument against it in the first place. Forcing people to buy a product that they did not want was ridiculous. So it's actually going to free up people who don't want to have it. And then there's still plenty of, it didn't get rid of Obamacare. So there's still an exchange to get health care, health insurance. There's still adequate ways in which to go about getting it. But unfortunately, Obamacare drove the prices all up. So good luck with that.
Yeah, honestly, that's still a sticking point for me, and it's one of the things that still has me mad at the Republicans. You guys ran on the repeal thing for 7.5 years. You should have been ready to go with that from jump.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They fumbled completely on that one. They fumbled and lost the ball.
Yeah. I was going to use
it. Wasn't quite a pick six, but they fumbled and lost the ball.
I was going to use a different euphemism, but we'll go with that one. All right, so, I guess enough about the tax reform thing. But yeah, if you're walking around, looking for these apparently 15 million people that are now going to die every year, like laying in the streets like the Democrats described, they're not there. And, who knows? This could be another thing where 6 months from now, we're yelling at the Democrats like we were at the Republicans, like we were yelling at the Democrats because they told us one thing and something else happened. I don't know anymore because I don't know who to trust. Because it's not like you can look at the Republicans now and go, oh, they're all trustworthy, wholesome type people. Because, there's folks like Roy Moore, who I'm sorry. I know I'm not in Alabama. My vote doesn't matter. But if I were in Alabama, I wouldn't vote for him. Only because, at this point, it doesn't really matter whether he did those things or not. It was his reaction to whether or not he did them. The verbal justifications of whether... if you didn't do them, why do you need to justify it?
Yeah, no, that the handling of it was so poor. And by the way, to me, it just screams that he's 100%, well, maybe not 100% guilty of a criminal act, but he's definitely guilty of engaging in relationships with teenage girls, even if they were of legal age. His responses were not something that someone who is against that sort of thing or who did not do that sort of thing would say. I can't quite recall. It doesn't seem to be in line with my character. I wouldn't think that I can't really remember. I always ask their mothers. Well, who needs to have their mothers asked? Tell me, who needs to have their mothers asked if their mother's permission to date them? Typically only teenagers, not women in their 20s. So, even with the different times, women in their 20s did not need mother's permission to date you. So there were just so many ways. And they never just, it was such a bad, it was so bad the way that he went about it and never directly answering questions and coming up with these weird lines that just kind of gave me the creeps. But like I said, it might not be anything criminal, but it certainly has tarnished him. And it's very hard to recover from that in the eyes of in the way of morality. I think that he might be able to recover in all sorts of other ways, but for people to take you as a moral authority, and that's one of the things he just did on Twitter. I don't know if you saw, but he said, I think they're afraid I'm going to take Alabama values to Washington, and I can't wait. He just tweeted that. Dude, again, misstep. No, you don't tweet about values. not with what people are bringing at you and you refuse to really deny and you can't adequately answer the questions for. You don't talk about values.
You know, the only problem with that tweet, as soon as you read it, and he's like, I think people are afraid I'm going to bring Alabama values to D.C. You know what I heard? You got a pretty mouth there, little girl. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it again, that's just another one of those PR missteps. Like, no, don't tweet that. Don't hit that button. You can say other things. You should not say that. Even if you're 100% you cannot say that. That does not sound right with everything that has gone on.
I mean, but here's the thing. He could have saved that, honestly, because what he could have said, because it would have put a completely different light on it. He would have said, I think that people are afraid that I'm going to bring the values of you, my constituents, to D.C. that are from Alabama. That would have put a completely different spin on it, because then he's not talking about Alabama values as a whole and making it seem like he espouses them. He's talking about the people that are going to be sending him there and their values. So that might have been a save for him. But I guess the thing that's just I don't know. I mean, I've seen the polling. It looks like he's probably going to manage to pull it out. Oh, bad word choice. My bad. Oh my god, I think I just got myself. Wow. Okay, so anyway, that's funny, because I'm usually making fun of other people when they say things like that. I just realized what I said. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. But anyway, so I think he's going to manage to be able to win this thing. I'm not sure if that's good or bad for Alabama, though. But I mean, the thing about that is, honestly, again, at the end of the day, my opinions don't matter. And that should have been ultimately the decision that was made from everybody from the top down is, look, Alabama's the one that has to decide whether they're going to elect this guy. I can tell you what I think, and I can tell you what I believe, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that have to pull the lever. So if that's who they want to come to D.C. when it's all said and done, I really don't have anything that I can do about that, because they are his constituents.
And I think that's part of where some people went too far. I mean, like, some of the media went too far. I think they underestimated the pull of the kind of not necessarily pro-Trumpness of a place like Alabama, but like that whole they're out to get us, fake Republicans, people make up lies about us, all that kind of thing. You know, it just kind of how far and hard some of the media went with it, and, you know, all the things they demanded of Alabamians to do. I think about Roy Moore, demand he step down, demand he do this, demand he do that. I think just kind of fed into all of that anti-mainstream media, anti-Washington, anti-the coasts, anti-liberal type deal. And, you know, people went, screw you. And so I kind of always thought that would maybe happen. Even people that don't like Roy Moore, they'd be like, well, like, who the heck are you to tell me what I should do with my business, you know? And so I think that we're seeing a little bit of that there.
Yeah, I have a feeling there were some, you know, conversations around barbershops, etc. The last thing we need is a bunch of them there buttheads from D.C. telling us what we should do with our vote. Vote Roy Moore! Anyway, not making fun of people from Alabama. I actually have family from there, which is why I do the accent pretty well. But anyway, so, you know, because we did get a bit of a late start, we've got about 7 minutes left because we're going to have to shut things down on time because I have a guest coming. Anything else you wanted to talk about while we're starting to wind things down?
Oh, I was just going to touch on that, you know, the case before SCOTUS right now, the cake baking case.
I thought we decided we were going to put a moratorium on the phrase touching on.
My bad. I did just think that this is pretty interesting. You know, this is about making a custom wedding cake. By the way, this is not it's not like, oh, we just have cakes made and then you decide if you want to buy one and it's for your wedding, and so I decide not to sell it to you. No, this is a custom made cake for their gay wedding. Anyways, he said that it contradicted his religious convictions to be a part of it. And, you know, the judges asked various questions, which were, couldn't that mean that they could turn someone away based on race or religion? Could you like not make a birthday cake for an African American because you don't want to celebrate Black people or whatever? So that's something that they're addressing, but they're also they seem to be really questioning the way in which Colorado, their Civil Rights Commission is handling this and how they are approaching it, and they want this to be pretty distinct. So one of the things that a bunch of the judges were asking were things like, well, okay, so if we say this, then can a state force Catholic Legal Services to represent a same-sex couple in a wedding-related dispute? What about a case that involves words and not just images? Ginsburg suggested, would Colorado say a baker must spell out "God bless the union of so-and-so and so-and-so" in frosting? Justice Alito wondered if a writer who gets paid to pen wedding vows would be made to make some specifically for gay marriage. Would there be no right to choice in who you serve and which projects you take on? So if any of these regulations fails, they're asking, what makes the Colorado law different? And if all these regulations are illicit, what good is the Constitution? So, they definitely are seeming kind of conflicted right now to carve out, and that's why all of this has always been so tricky. It's like, there's a fine line here between not discriminating and then also between the freedom of the person providing the service and doing so for a valid reason. But does the state get to say what those valid reasons are, or do they not? And if they do, then are those really constitutional? If they don't, is that constitutional? I mean, there's so much about it that really is, I think, a lot more complicated than what either side kind of tries to make it in the spitball arguments on Twitter or on other forms of social media, or even on the on the cable shows at night. It's really an undertaking to wade through all of this and all the implications, no matter which way they decide. And I kind of have a feeling that they're going to skirt it a little bit. I think that they're going to push it off a little bit onto the Colorado Civil Rights Association by redressing it a bit. And then they will have to kind of regroup and figure out if then they want to challenge those things. I don't know. It just kind of seems to be going the way. But honestly, there's a good chunk of the Supreme Court justices that seem to be leaning towards, no, you can't make the cake. But there's definitely a lot of split here. I don't know. It's going to be heavy.
I'm waiting for the backlash if they side with the cake baker, because it's going to happen. And there's going to be rioting in the streets, again, weeping and gnashing of teeth. Oh my God, we've been sent back to the dark ages. We just got gay rights and now they're trying to take away our ability to buy a wedding cake. No, we're just telling you to maybe start a gay bakery. or at least a gay-friendly bakery.
Well, so like the ACLU and the Colorado Civil Rights Commission are basically claiming this, like, we don't want to live in a country where businesses can hang heterosexuals only signs in the window. And like, I don't know if y'all follow Politimath on Twitter, but he's pretty great. Politimath said, according to the baker's own attorney, that is unconstitutional and not the desired result from either side. So, like everything else, it's always that kind of like hair on fire deal with this stuff. But I thought it was interesting that Sotomayor, this is via Stephanie Slade from Reason.com, which she has a couple articles up on this that are really good. And also the cake baker wrote he gave his side for USA Today, and it's pretty compelling. So I think if anybody, even if you 100% already think that he should be able to do whatever he wants, go read it to really see his kind of his heart in the matter. And if you don't agree with him, go read it with an open mind and see his heart in the matter, because it's I think it's deeper than what people think of, just like, man, I'm not going to do it, I hate the gays. It's not like that at all. But Sotomayor did say at the end that I thought was very interesting. This is via Slade. Was that after the baker's lawyers said people shouldn't be forced into expressive activities that support gay marriage, they basically said, Sotomayor said, then don't participate in weddings. Which,
wow.
Okay. So I'm a cake baker. And if I tell someone that I will not do, like for instance, I work in the service industry. Y'all know I do events and all this stuff. One of the things one of our businesses does is wedding cakes. And guess what we've refused? We have refused to do a penis cake for a bachelorette party. We refused to do, there was someone that wanted us to be able to do, and it was kind of short notice, which is part of why we refused. But they wanted us to do this certain kind of design with purple fondant. We don't work with fondant. We actually have homemade icings, everything still homemade. I mean, separating egg whites, the whole deal, made by hand by a person. Nothing is pre-done, and we don't use fondant. We don't do all the fancy layer. I mean, we do various pretty fancy decorating with the icing itself, but I'm saying we don't do that really kind of smooth layered. That's what that fondant is. It's that smooth layered stuff, but it sometimes tastes really gross. It's supposed to be sugary, but it's not always that great. Anyways, but so we don't, we refuse those things. Could we get sued for being like, we don't want to make a penis cake? So I think that people just don't think about this. That's not the style of our wedding cakes. These are the styles that we do. This is what this is. And then we refuse people all the time for various reasons. And that's what's in jeopardy here. And the discrimination thing makes it a bigger factor, of course, because that's always in danger. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I don't think it's quite over yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's over yet either. All right, so we are officially out of time. Why don't you remind folks where they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me?
Yeah, I'm at J Homestead on Twitter. I almost forgot. JR Homestead on Facebook, and check out misfitspolitics.com. Tomorrow night's Misfit Gift Challenge.
Misfit Gifts, yay! All right, folks, I'll be back here in just a minute with America Off the Rails. I have my guest, Jessica Sanders, with us, our resident Middle Eastern foreign affairs expert, North Korea, those type of things. But we'll be right back here in just a minute with the start of that show, so stay tuned. And again, don't forget, starting next week, we will not be on at 11 p.m. Eastern. We are talking about, once we get the station feel back up again, we're talking about maybe doing replays at that time, but the live show will be at 7 Eastern. Anyway, so on that note, folks, we are out. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Tuesday night. Can we just take a collective sigh of relief and say, thank God it's not Monday and that it's at least almost Wednesday? Just saying.
Hump day!
Be right back, folks. See you in a bit.